Do you ever feel like you're juggling a million versions of yourself and still dropping the ball? Like you're switching hats all day, professional, partner, parent, friend, and no one really sees what it takes to just be you? Yeah, me too. Welcome to Hat Rack with Hannah. I'm Hannah, therapist, entrepreneur, author, podcast host, and also a mom, partner, daughter, friend, basically a professional hat wearer. I created this space where you don't have to minimize what you're carrying or rush past it. Because the truth is, you can have big dreams and feel overwhelmed by the roles it takes to hold them. Both get to exist. Here we slow it down, call it what it is, take some hats off, and figure out what actually belongs in your rack. So take a deep breath. You can set something down here, and let's get into it. Welcome back, Hat Rack with Hannah listeners. This is Hannah, your podcast host, and I am so excited to wrap up the month of June and just discuss the splits and small shifts and coming back to yourself and what we really learned this month, as well as reflections from our incredible interview with Lisa. So let's see what we got. This month, we really explored the concept that I coined the split, which is a really important concept to me because it just brings language and light to something we experience on a daily basis. And just to kind of revisit the concept as a whole real quick. So the split happens when roles overlap, responsibilities collide, expectations exceed capacity, and we try to give partial attention to multiple things, and then we just end up dropping a ball or not doing one task to completion in the way that satisfies or fulfills us. The results often overwhelm or frustration or guilt or feeling like we're failing at everything. I really want to reflect on why this topic resonated for a lot of people. I think that's because we are normalizing something people experience so frequently. But the responses from listeners that I got were just experience after experience defining the split. The reality is that most of us aren't struggling because we're incapable with this split concept. It's actually we're struggling because we're carrying too much, and most of what's put on us isn't actually ours to hold. Sometimes it's us meeting a societal standard, the standard of somebody else, the high standards we set for ourselves. But we can take a step back and really look at what our energy and capacity is and navigate this split in a way that actually serves you instead of depletes you. The biggest lesson here is the problem isn't that we're doing too little, it's that we're often trying to do too much at the same time. I want to bring it back to neuroscience when our brain, which is the only signal that it can send, is overwhelmed. Done. Like sometimes when our brain shuts down, right? So the result of the split is honestly our brain being overwhelmed. And so we need to realize that it's not just your lack of ability to manage, it's your body responding to this is too much. We're doing too much. We're doing the most, but in a way that doesn't feel good. Bringing back that original story of me in court supporting an employee, trying to be in music class with my daughter, trying to be present at a networking event, right? There was no lack of effort on my part. I planned it. I planned it actually pretty well, but I didn't plan it for my energy and capacity and for my presence to be the number one thing there. I wasn't present at the networking event. I wasn't present with music class with my daughter. I wasn't present with my employee. Then we had Lisa join us, and she introduced a perspective that fit this month's theme so perfectly. Do you remember her TV antenna analogy? One of the most memorable moments was that the TV wasn't broken, it simply needed adjustment, just like feng shui and space. Your space isn't broken. We just need to bring in different concepts, colors, things that ground you, part of the elements of feng shui, in order to have your space feel better to you. So, how often do we assume something is wrong with us when maybe something around us just needs a shift? Sometimes the schedule needs adjustment. The boundary needs adjustment. The environment needs adjustment. The expectation needs adjustment, not the person. I think that's really important to remember because honestly, it's way easier to take things out on ourselves than it is to look around and fully evaluate the other factors that could be influencing things. Yeah, I'm not saying you might not be the factor, but me being mean to me doesn't impact anybody else, does it? So it's the first thing I'm going to do. When we are in trauma situations or when we're doing trauma healing, often survivors of trauma will blame themselves first. And that's because it's easier. I can be an asshole to myself all day. But putting the blame elsewhere means I didn't have control, which most of the times we don't when we face a trauma. But healing from those concepts is harder versus doing the things we can control, which is like being mean to me. All to say, we need to make other adjustments to things that aren't just the person. Environment impacts capacity directly. The reason I had Lisa on this month was because it ties into the split. She reminded us that our environment impacts focus, energy, rest, stress, attention. And many times we're trying to solve an environmental problem with more of an effect. Examples: cluttered space, poor sleep environment, constant notifications, lack of transition rituals. These are things that we can definitely do in order to shift our energy and capacity. So when we are managing the split and how to prioritize, looking at things differently with capacity at mind, when we look at our environment, it really impacts our energy. And so it's just another piece of the puzzle to reprioritize capacity first. Small shifts create really big results. And I think Lisa really did a good job of bringing that home. One of the strongest themes from her episode, I feel, and also was educated on by her, was like a color change. Like when she was talking about, and this just sticks out to me always, like the red headboard. I remember in college, remind you, it was college, I had hot pink and cheetah everywhere, right? Sleep was harder then. Now in my space, I have navies and golds and neutral tones, and I sleep so much better. And it's just the color change. In my office, I am way more productive since I moved into a new office space where I have lighter colored walls. I have windows that bring in a lot of lights. And then I do have this like darker navy chair, but that makes me feel good, right? So also listening to your body and what makes you feel good and strong. This color, this navy that I'm sitting on, makes me feel really strong and confident. And so it's my therapist chair and my work chair, my office chair. And every office that I decorated in this space has strong, confident colors in their therapist chairs in order to bring that energy to the space. Another thing Lisa really highlighted was a reset ritual. It's not just the things we put in our environment, it's how we enter and exit. And we've talked about this before, but it's just, she honed in on it in a way that was so beautiful of just creating those rituals, closing the blinds at the end of the workday, lighting her candle, changing, and my daughter and I and my husband, right? Like changing your clothes after work, creating the space to transition and leave things in the last place to open up the space you're currently entering and bring presence into every space. The goal isn't a perfect life or the perfect home or the perfect environment. That's not possible. The goal is a supportive one. Your home or your office should support your energy and capacity, just like managing and navigating the split. So bring into your spaces what you need to navigate and allow for better energy and capacity. So this is where everything kind of comes together. Throughout the month, we discussed planning, creating that structure that supports your nervous system, presence, putting both feet where you are, grace, responding with compassion instead of criticism, and conscious transitioning, not carrying every role into every room. Then Lisa showed us that our environments can support every one of those skills. A closing ritual helps, a peaceful bedroom supports rest, dedicated workspace supports presence, clutter-free environment reduces overwhelm, and the environment becomes a partner in the process of navigating the split. That's why we had her on the pod this month. She's so awesome. Also, in case you didn't see, Lisa offered all of our listeners a free 30-day aligned at home trial, which is her programming that she does. And it really gets into every topic of the book sensory design, color psychology, feng shui, and more. And it's just a really great membership that she's giving us in order to help us work through navigating this split concept and really bringing into your reality how to better your energy in your spaces. So please take advantage of that. It's a free 30 days with her. And I think it would really help you implement how we navigate the split, but in your environment. So definitely get on that. Our first highlight from our viewer questions is really that awareness after the fact is still awareness and it's actually growth. Growth often looks like noticing it hours later, then noticing it later that night, then noticing it 5 minutes later, then catching it in real time. Progress is shortening this gap. Awareness is not failure, it's the beginning of change. And when we start that change, we can start to acknowledge and bring light to our energy and capacity instead of just going through the checklist like a zombie and actually planning for your capacity versus doing the things we need to do that contribute to that burnout. And not only contribute to that burnout, but lead to the split, right? And when we're not present, that's when I personally get the, ugh, this is too much. This is too heavy. And many listeners really recognize themselves in that story and also played back some of their own experiences of the split, which was really cool to see. But also another normalizing factor that we are all experiencing this in our own ways. We just need words to put to what we're experiencing. The questions that came from Brandon, he only noticed the split after it's already happened. And our takeaway with that was really that the awareness after the fact is still awareness. We have to realize that this is happening and we have to stop the overwhelmed brain to make a change in the first place. So, this is what growth looks like. Awareness isn't failure, awareness is the beginning of changing and actually allowing our emotional capacity to take center stage versus here's the list I have to do and letting that own how you operate your day. Highlight 2 from the questions that we received was like, everyone needs something from me all at once. So this resonated with so many listeners and with myself. The lesson here was like, not everything is urgent or actually an emergency. Our body might identify that something feels urgent or feels like an emergency because of the pressures we're being faced or the inner expectations that we have. But urgency culture and this space that we're in a society that makes us feel like, oh, there's an email, I must answer now, right? It's a false fight or flight that triggers our body that isn't actually healthy for us and doesn't actually serve us. It's the emotional pressure that we feel from others that lead into this urgency culture, that lead into this burnout. And it's honestly why we're seeing a lot more burnout in our society right now. It's learning to prioritize based on the reality instead of the intensity. What's my real priority list? And is it coming from somebody else's energy and it's not mine to hold and they need to prioritize that? Or is it mine and this is important and I need to make time for this today? So our main lesson from highlight 2 is not everything urgent is actually an emergency. This is simultaneous demand, but not simultaneous emergencies. And we need to program our nervous system and our body that not everything is an emergency. Fight, flight, freeze, fawn, right? Like our survival instincts. And for those of you who don't know, I want you to, this is such a primal example, but I think it's really helpful. Like go back to the primal days. Like I want you to think caveman energy, right? When your body perceives a threat, we will either fight, flight, freeze, and now we have an adaptation of fawn. So fight is we are going to fight the monkey that's attacking us, right? It's coming towards us or the rhino or whatever cave animal we want to use. It is coming for us and it's going to kill us and it's an emergency, so we're going to fight back. Freeze is, oh my gosh, I'm so shocked that you're coming at me right now, rhino. I don't know what to do. My whole body shuts down, my brain shuts down, and I freeze and I don't move. Flight is, oh my God, rhino coming, run. So we're running. And an adaptation that a lot of people, we really honestly need to bring more normalization to is called fawn. When I say adaptation, what I mean is our society has trained our body to have more nervous system reactions, and fawning is actually what happens a lot when we're feeling the split. When, let's say, for example, we don't want to say no to a birthday party, right? And someone is pressuring us. Well, we want to get the hell out of the situation. So we're going to say what we need to say. Oh, okay, I'll be there. Don't worry. To get the hell out of this situation. So fawning is us saying what we need to say to get out of the situation because we perceived a threat or a pressure and our body doesn't know what to do. So we like freeze, fight, flight, give response, leave, and deal with it later. That's a me later problem. So it honestly just pauses and holds off a problem for a later time. But in saying all of this, we need to retrain that how we respond to the daily things are not actually emergencies, so that our bodies aren't so dysregulated all the time. And when we're talking about not everything urgent is actually an emergency, it's really important to retrain our bodies. So really prioritize logically and in reality instead of in intensity. Just because someone's coming at me with their intense feeling of this deadline doesn't mean that's my energy to hold. And if I have an intense deadline, I don't need to be urgently meeting that space. I can come to it in a calm, regulated way and get it done probably better than I would if I was in an urgent mind frame. Highlight 3 from our listeners and our hat rack questions this month. The question was, I feel like I'm always choosing who to disappoint. Ugh, that one hit me hard because I feel it and I've felt it. And many people are carrying that guilt because they believe every choice has a loser. And that's not fair to literally anyone. And the reality is, life isn't about making sure nobody is disappointed. And as hard as that is to hold, it's true. It's about rotating priorities, returning to what matters, building trust through consistency. Nothing gets everything all the time, but everything can get something over time. It's a way that we manage our presence. Highlight 4 that we discussed. The statement from the question was, my worth is tied to productivity. This became one of the biggest themes of the month, I feel, honestly. And I feel it so deeply in so many things I experience and everything that is in my learned DNA and in so many others' learned DNA. We were literally taught as a culture that you have to succeed or hit the next milestone, and that's productive versus just existing being productive, which is so hard to hold. A big piece from this highlight was we don't need to earn rest or justify breaks or measure our value by our output. The truth is, your capacity changes and your worth doesn't. So let's bring back that battery analogy. Some days I'm at 100, some days I'm at 20. Neither changes my value. It's just changing how I operate throughout the day. Your worth is not tied to your productivity. A big question that I want listeners to ask themselves is, what is tied to my worth then? If I untie productivity from worth, what makes me feel worthy? It's a really hard question, but I think it's a really good, honestly, journal prompt for this month. And I'll make sure to put it on my socials. So those are my highlights from our Hat Rack listeners and the questions. I think it just brought up and honestly summarized a lot of the points that the split has to offer and brings home how important this concept is and how normalizing this concept is for so many people. What I really hope you take with you from this month, it really wasn't about productivity. It wasn't about becoming better at juggling. It wasn't about squeezing more into your day. It was about learning how to stop abandoning yourself while trying to manage everything. And I know that's really hard. Little sneak preview. Next month, we're going to be talking a lot about alignment, which really goes with this concept of how to not abandon yourself. So just some host reflections from this month. The split was a concept that I have been waiting to share with someone. It's something I often notice with a lot of my clients, a lot of my friends, humans in my life. And it's just so important to bring words to something we experience often. We're really taught to multitask. And this reminds us that multitasking is not and cannot be our default. and like presence and capacity actually matter more. Yes, it's a choice and something we choose in how we want to live and operate throughout our lives, but I think it's something very important. And I just want to name that that is a highlight that I've been seeing is people connecting their stories and reflections to how this impacts them all the time. I was really excited to share this concept because of how I feel people would resonate. And I did see that, which was really, really cool and exciting for me to see. It also honestly had me thinking about more examples in my personal life where this split is occurring all of the time. I know I gave y'all an example from a year ago in May, but just like even this past weekend, I just saw myself doing way too many things. I got sick and I had to cancel a bunch of things, but I also had to prioritize still getting certain things done. But I was so sick, and it was just a reminder that my body gave me that none of this matters. You actually have to put you first. And when my battery was at zero, nothing else mattered. And anything else I tried to do wasn't getting done the way I wanted it to either. I just needed to sleep and rest. And I want us to get to a space, me, when I say that, I want to get to a space where I'm doing this preventatively instead of my body having to be like, you're pushing it too hard and now we're going to shut you down. It's something we often don't think about when the mind and body come together and how they impact one another. But when we're running on fumes, we can often get sick. We often have things come up for our body, like feel depleted, feel lethargic, fatigued, a lowered ability to manage stress, anxiety, and triggers. And it's a really good thing to remember and be authentic about and bring light to that we are just human operating. And when your battery is lower at zero, you're not going to operate how you want to. My takeaways, we're noticing the split without shame. Awareness is progress. The shame and guilt is so easy to feel when we're implementing new things, but it doesn't serve you. So notice it, sit with it, but then move through it and allow yourself to evaluate where you could have navigated the split better and how you can support yourself better next time. One thing I kept noticing this month, whether it was through listener questions, conversations with clients, friends, family, things in my own life, is just how many people assume they're doing something wrong when they're actually trying to do too much at once. We label ourselves as lazy, unorganized, distracted, behind, not doing enough. But often we're simply trying to be fully available in too many places at the same time. The question I've been asking myself is, am I actually failing here? Or am I just split? That question alone creates so much more compassion and brings that grace, which is a goal of ours, to the forefront. And so I really think it's a great question to challenge yourselves with, especially when you're working on navigating splits and bringing awareness to them. That leads me to my second takeaway. That awareness just changes everything. One of my favorite listener questions this month was, what if I only notice the split after it's already happened? Because honestly, that's how this works. Awareness isn't the finish line. Awareness is the starting point. And the first time you notice it after the fact isn't failure, it's growth. And I've learned that every moment of awareness gives us a new opportunity to make a different choice next time. And I just love that this listener hit it on the head. It's a perfect example of no, you're not failing, you're split, and now you're noticing it, which is incredible and part of how we start to reprioritize our energy and capacity over the to-do list. My third takeaway is we need more grace and fewer punishments. Y'all know how I struggle with this. We've all been taught that pressure creates performance, and that if we're hard enough on ourselves, we finally get it together. But what I continue to see in my work, in my relationships, in myself is that shame rarely creates substantial change. Grace does. Not avoidance, not excuses, grace. The kind that says, today didn't go how I planned. What do I need now? The ways that we pivot instead of I should have done better. It doesn't serve. My fourth takeaway, small shifts are often more powerful than big overhauls. This is a big struggle for me. When I am feeling stress or pressure, I like to say, I'm going to change my life. I'm just going to take a day off I get poster boards, whiteboards, and I just plan everything. And that is how my partner knows, oh shit, she is in it right now. But those big overhauls don't help. The small changes that come from my big overhauls, like the boundaries I need to set or the schedule I need to change for more presence, that's what really matters. We spend too much time trying to force massive transformation, the new planner, the new system, the new routine, a complete life overhaul, when we really just need like the 5 minutes of transition time, a clearer boundary, a cleaner workspace, a different evening routine, more realistic expectations. The TV antenna analogy really stuck with me from Lisa because sometimes we're not broken. We just need a small adjustment. I love that example. I'm so happy she brought that up. My fifth takeaway is capacity matters. The whole reason we're navigating this split, and I know I've said it a few times, but is to learn how to prioritize capacity and energy over the hustle. As therapists, parents, partners, business owners, caregivers, humans, we often act as though our capacity should be unlimited, but capacity fluctuates. Some days I have more to give, some days I don't. And one of the most important questions I've been practicing with is what is realistic for my capacity today? Not on my best day, not on someone else's day, but today. Because honoring your capacity isn't quitting, it's wisdom, and it's allowing you to be more successful in the things that you want to achieve within the energy that you have. Sixth takeaway. I know I have a bunch for this episode, but that's fine. The goal isn't balance. I think what I've really learned from reflecting on the split this month, when I came into it, I was really thinking this is how we manage our balance. But in reality, I don't actually think the goal is. I think balance implies everything gets equal attention all the time. But what we've learned is life doesn't work that way. Some seasons require more forms of work. Some seasons require more family, healing. What I'm learning is the goal isn't balance, it's intentionality. Knowing where my feet are, knowing where I'm present, knowing what season I'm in and what deserves my attention right now, and trusting that I can return to other things when the time comes. Big learning point for me, even within my own concept. So, just another really important thing to point out. My final reflection from the episode, and if I could leave you with one thought from this month, it's this: you're not a machine designed to perform at maximum capacity all the time. You're a human being navigating multiple roles, responsibilities, relationships, and expectations. The answer isn't becoming better at carrying everything. The answer might be learning what to set down, what to adjust, and how to fully arrive where you already are. Because the opposite of the split isn't perfection, it's presence. And if this month taught you anything, it's that sometimes the most healing thing we can do isn't add more to our lives, it's create enough space to actually be in them. It goes against all of our learned behaviors as a society, but it's one of the top ways that we need to prioritize ourselves in the hustles. Small shifts matter. Tiny adjustments often create the biggest change. Bringing in those feng shui and color psychology concepts from Lisa. Some of the hat rack questions we were talking about, how to educate others on the split. So when you're not actually physically present, when someone thinks you are, you educate them instead of making it an excuse and taking away that guilt piece of it. Learning how to operate when people know that you're facing the split is super important, and it allows you to operate your life prioritizing energy and capacity, supporting yourself the way you support everyone else through planning, grace, realistic expectations, environmental things that help you thrive. We really want to prioritize capacity overall, energy management overall. We can be given a priority list or to-do list every second of the day, and it doesn't serve you. You have to make it serve you. We have to accommodate ourselves, and that's okay to do. What if the goal isn't to carry every hat perfectly? What if the goal is learning when to set the hat down, fully step into one that you're wearing, and trust that others will still be there when you return to that hat? Because life will always ask us to wear many hats. The work is learning how to wear them one at a time. This month, we learned that the split isn't a sign that you're failing. It's a sign that your attention, energy, and expectations may need support. And sometimes the smallest shift, a boundary, a ritual, a moment of presence, or even a change in your environment is enough to help you come back to yourself. Until next time, take a hat off, take a breath, and remember you don't have to do everything at once to live a meaningful life. Join me on our Instagram page and answer our questions. Submit your Hat Rack questions to our website or send me a DM with them. I really appreciate y'all, and I'm excited to just continue to implement the split and capacity and energy management into everyone's lives. Thanks so much, and I hope you have an incredible day.